Hey there, everyone, and welcome. It's Kelly from Kelly's Astrology here. I want to talk a little bit about Scorpio season 2022. So, I want to talk about the sun in Scorpio this year and what I think makes that unique. And I've got a discount code. So, for those of you who are thinking about my course starting on Monday, October 31st, Chart Interpretation 3, I've got a code for you that I'm going to share in the video today. So, welcome back. And of course, if you are enjoying my videos here on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. There's a button or a bell. Just click that and you'll get a notification every time there is a new video coming out. So, Scorpio season 2022, it has begun. It began on Sunday, October 23, and it will run through until Tuesday, October 22nd. So October 23 to November 22nd, I should say, is the Scorpio season for 2022. And that basically refers to the time that the sun is moving through the zodiac sign of Scorpio. And there's a couple of things that I think make Scorpio season unique this year in 2022. One of those is that we have the South Node in Scorpio at the same time. And in fact, this is the only Scorpio season of the 18-month journey of the South Node through Scorpio that is going to happen. We're going to have actually two Taurus seasons with the North Node in Taurus, which is the opposite point of the South Node. But we just have one Scorpio period or Sun and Scorpio season with the South Node there. So remembering, if you need a reminder, that the nodes are moved into Taurus and Scorpio in January of 2022, and they will stay there until July of 2023. In July of 23, the North Node moves into Aries and the South Node will move into Libra. So there'll be a whole different nodal journey and a whole different set of eclipses for 2023. But if we come back to October, November 2022, we've now got the sun moving through the same zodiac sign where the South Node is. So we call that, in ancient astrology, we call that a co-presence, when two things are in the same sign. The sun will make a conjunction to the South Node in Scorpio. That will happen on Saturday, November 5th, and the sun and the South Node will meet at about 13 degrees of Scorpio. But the entire time that the sun is in Scorpio this year, we've got lots of nodal themes going on. So what does that mean? The nodal themes are intensity and extremes. That's the nodes in general. The nodes are also associated with this churning, agitating quality. And we know that Scorpio season tends to want to take us deep. You know, Scorpio is our fixed water sign. So we've got a lot of emotion here. We've got a lot of kind of rigidity that we're working through. We might be holding on to things and we're trying to identify what those things are. Now, we don't normally want to let them go. Scorpio season is like, no, I'm entrenched in my emotions or I'm attached to my position. But with the South Node in Scorpio, while we're in Scorpio season this year, we actually are going to have to learn to let go. This Scorpio season in 2022 is about release. It's about emptying out. You might think of it as a special time for cleansing or detoxing or purging. Now, you can cleanse or detox or purge a variety of things. Emotional stuff is going to be the first thing. Emotional and energetic congestion is what we want to address this Scorpio season. And that can look like our attachment to emotions like anger or resentment or bitterness. We might have to do some healing. We might have to find our way through some of those difficult or uncomfortable emotions. You know, we have 3 water signs, but we only have one that is ruled by Mars. That's Scorpio. And so we can be very strategic and very goal-oriented and very specific when we're talking about emotions and feelings from a Scorpio perspective. But we also have to acknowledge that this is where we deal with emotions that have a sting or a sharpness, like that point that we see in the symbol of Mars. So this is where our emotions that kind of, can get straight to the point, or that can, feel like we're being punctured or poked a little bit. They can be sharp and uncomfortable. They might be precise and spot on, but sometimes that's not pleasant to have to navigate, or it's a bit confronting initially, and then we kind of sort of see the value in that precision or strategy. So with the sun in the same sign as the south node, we're trying to kind of work through congestion that might be inside of us, that might be in our lives, and maybe your day or your weekly schedule is really congested with things that are draining you or depleting you. I promise you, this Scorpio season is about clearing that gunk out. It's about tidying up your schedule, streamlining your days, kind of simplifying your time and your energetic output so that you are moving away from people or situations that are draining and depleting you, so that you can kind of have a period of stillness or a little period of reflection, we might say. The South Node is trying to get you to question spiritual things, to go deeper into your emotional self. What is going to help you care for your emotions or just take care of what matters to you? The South Node is very interested in mystical matters, in spiritual matters. It's a little bit otherworldly, we might say. It's very instinctive. It's not logical or rational. So this whole Scorpio season is like way more emotional than normal because of the presence of the South Node in Scorpio. So we are acting in a more, we could be reactive, we could be responsive. It's more of a primal kind of, I feel safe doing this and I can go towards that person or that possibility. And I can't explain it, but I really feel uncomfortable over here. So I want you to try and develop a pattern of acknowledging, and if you can, listening to that gut instinct, that kind of physical, visceral sensation inside of you. Now, we can't all be run on emotion and instinct alone all the time. I understand that might lead you to make some illogical or irrational choices, but I like to think about this Scorpio season with the South Node here as a time where you might allow that emotional responsiveness or that emotional feedback to be a part of your decision-making and your planning process, so that you're not suppressing that kind of primal response you're having to people or situations. You're acknowledging it. And maybe that's how you learn to care for yourself. I always feel really uncomfortable when I catch up with that person. So why do I give that person so much time and energy, for instance? Or I really hate this type of exercise or movement practice, so I don't know why I'm going to keep doing it. Can I find something that really feeds me or nourishes me, or somehow you just feel less drained and depleted by? So Scorpio season 2022, I was looking at the code, which we'll get to in a minute. Scorpio season 2022 is kind of trying to bring you into a deeper level of awareness of what aggravates you and what calms you. And as you become more aware of that, I hope you can move away from what is aggravating you and towards what is calming you. I have one more point, maybe two little points to say about Scorpio season, but at this point, I do want to share that code that I promised you. So if you're watching and you would like to sign up for the Chart Interpretation 3 course, in this course, we're going to look at a checklist for doing a chart reading. This is an intermediate training. It is designed for students who have taken my previous chart interpretation courses. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I have a chart interpretation series. You can see the URL on the screen here. kellysastrology.com/chart interpretation series. And I'll put that link in the show notes below. So if you want to learn to read a birth chart, to understand what's in your chart, this series of courses is going to help you. Now, the code that this course is for specifically is course 3, the moon phases and personality special chart configurations training. So this is the third in a series of 3 courses about how to read a birth chart. The code to save 10% is YT10. I'm going to pop that in the show notes below, but that code again is YT, short for YouTube, 10, and you can save 10% if you enter that code when you check out. What did I want to say? This course is available as a downloadable course anytime, but we are running a live cohort starting October 31st, which means that every 2 weeks through November, there are going to be live Q&As where I will be jumping on with students and answering the questions that you might have as you're moving through the material. My classes are taught exclusively by me. I'm your teacher. You'll get video training, but we also include some extra reading, supplemental reading, as well as some homework and practice exercises. And my excellent TAs, teaching assistants, will be able to give you some feedback on your homework as well. And I always look forward to connecting with the students in the live Q&As where we can talk about how you're going with the material and I can answer any questions you have. So that chart interpretation 3 course on moon phases and personality. Of course, you're going to learn about moon phases, but we also talk about fixed stars. We talk about the role of sect on aspects, and I give you a checklist to help you feel a little more comfortable in putting together a chart interpretation. So that course does start Monday, October 31st, and you can save 10% when you register with the code YT10. So I hope to see you in class in the next few weeks. So a couple more points about this Scorpio season 2022, not 2010. Saturn is in another fixed sign. So with the sun in Scorpio, Saturn in Aquarius is in what we call the 4th position, which means that if we start in Scorpio, we end up 4 signs around to get to Aquarius. And so this is sort of basic kind of birth chart business, Scorpio being sign 1, Sagittarius being sign 2, Capricorn being sign 3, and Aquarius being sign 4. So what that means is the relationship from Saturn to the sun in Scorpio is a 4th relationship or a 4th house style relationship. And what that basically means is, I think a lot of stuff to do with our home, our family, our origin story might be part of what we're processing and maybe releasing and doing a bit of a healing from or around. That's going to be part of Scorpio season 2022. We did have this Saturn in the 4th to the sun relationship in Scorpio season 2021. So there may be some familiar pieces to that for some of you. What makes it more intense in 2022 is that we now have that South Node in the 1st. So we're trying to kind of figure out maybe themes to do with identity, with self-confidence, with self-worth, and kind of the thing we need to navigate, overcome, figure out a way around is some of our family of origin stuff. You know, did you have stability when you were growing up? Did you not have safety or security? These are some of the questions. I'm not saying I want you to have to go back into difficult experiences from your childhood, but there may be a perspective or a piece of wisdom that is available to you now about your family of origin, the people who raised you, the physical home you grew up in, sibling dynamics, if that was relevant for you. You may be able to see that differently. That helps you move beyond any limitations that it might have indicated for you. Some of you might have had a great childhood and you might be reflecting on the gifts or the foundations that your upbringing gave you. And if you're like me, and most people, your upbringing might have been a mix of foundations and gifts, and also, you know, certain things that were maybe neglected or unavailable that you're trying to kind of learn about, heal from, make up for as an adult. So that 4th relationship from the sun in Scorpio to Saturn in Aquarius is a clue that it might be relevant to dive back into some of our family of origin, our home, our upbringing material over the next few weeks. The other little extra, and I might put the chart on the screen for Scorpio season this year. We'll do a quick animation here. So here's what I mean by the sun in Scorpio, and then we've got the South Node there. So for the entire 4 weeks, the sun and any other planet is in Scorpio. They do get that agitated, unsettled quality coming through quite strongly because of the co-presence of the South Node there. And this is the start of Scorpio season. October 23rd, around 6:30 in the morning, Toronto time or Eastern time. You can see that as Scorpio season begins, Venus is already in Scorpio. And shortly after Scorpio season begins, Mercury joins the sun and Venus in Scorpio. So we will actually have 3 planets going through Scorpio this Scorpio season. I'm just double checking. Yeah. So the sun spends a good 4 weeks there. Mercury spends a little over 2 weeks in Scorpio, and Venus spends a little over 3 weeks in Scorpio. So we're, you know, at the start of Scorpio season, late October, we're still kind of diving in as all the planets come in to Scorpio. The sun and Venus went in together on the 23rd. Mercury comes into Scorpio on the 29th. And so there is this sort of really intense Scorpio theme or quality of energy from the 29th of October through to the 16th of November, which is when Venus leaves Scorpio. The very next day, the 17th of November, Mercury leaves Scorpio. We still have the sun there for another few days until the 22nd of November, but we're really diving in. We're going into sort of murky, unclear territory, and we may have to rely on our instinct and our sensations rather than our logical brain to find our way through. So healing practices, self-care practices, as well as ritual practices like meditation, maybe tarot work, or maybe other type of spiritual mantra, chant, reflection practices. These are all the kinds of things that we want to make a lot more space for in Scorpio season 2022 to kind of allow that South Node energy to come through. The South Node is not necessarily ambitious or materially oriented. So instead, we want to kind of go back to those raw core basics and make sure we're taking care of that before we try to build in the external world. So that's it from me, team, for a few thoughts about Scorpio season 2022. Let me know how it's going for you, what shows up in the days and weeks ahead. I'm always curious to hear how the astrology plays out in each of our lives. And if you would like to take your chart interpretation skills to the next level, I hope you join me for my next course starting October 31st. And feel free to use that code YT10, and 10 is in numerals. So the code is YT numeral 1, numeral 0. And I look forward to seeing you in class soon. Take care, team. Bye for now.